Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of the creditrepairshop.com. And in today's video, we're going to talk about debt. We're going to talk about how you can deal with debt. I'm going to give you some different scenarios based off of where your specific situation might be from examples of clients that we work with in our office. And this is going to be a very important video because one of the things, have you ever heard it? I'm pretty sure you've heard of this saying, I gotta wrap my head around it. And what that really means is that when a person is under a lot of emotional stress, when a person needs to make some sort of change in their life that they feel is going to be difficult, or they have anxieties or worries about it, that old saying comes around is that you got to wrap your head around it. That means you got to kind of, in a way, understand what you're going to have to do, understand the situation. But even more importantly is that you got to accept that you may not know the answers to what you are going through, and that you have to reach out and you have to get those answers. And then you got to accept it. You got to wrap your head around it and accept it. Because if you think about it this way, like, I think that life would be a lot easier if we thought about life in this way, is that there are some things that you and I just do not know about. And there's things that like, everybody doesn't know everything. And some of the times you got to reach out and you got to get the information from other people. So the way that I guide my life, because the number one question that I get from people is like, well, how do I know that the information I'm getting from someone else is the right information? The way that I do it is you got to look at how they demonstrate, what they're telling you. The first level of demonstration is, has that person done it? Has that person went through what you went through? That's why you'll see a lot of people relating, a lot of sports players relating to coaches who have actually played in the NBA or NFL or hockey or whatever sport it is, that they relate to those coaches a lot better because they feel that that coach went through exactly what they went through. So when they say, hey, I feel this way, or I'm going through this, they're like, you went through it as a player, so they feel that way. So number one that I look for is, can that person demonstrate that they've went through what I'm going through? The other thing, though, is that sometimes you don't find, there may be a person where you can't find that person that has went through what you're going through, but then you need to look at what their body of work, like, can they demonstrate over a period of time? And I know that might sound a little rough, but I went through it. There was a time with my businesses that I did not have the experience, and there were people who would not do business with me. That's with all of my companies. And it can take years to gain that experience. But that is required because you're going to be providing a service or providing a product to someone, and they need to have a level of comfort. And by showing your longevity, and with my belief is that when you show that longevity, that means that you're in it for more than just getting paid. You're also in it for the service of people. So let's jump into it here. Too much debt and what to do. Too much debt and what to do. This is a huge issue that people are going through right now in our country. It's always been going on, but it seems like it's even getting worse right now. Like, when I start to look at the different types of calls that we have coming in, we'll either have people who are getting sued. Well, number one, the top cause is just credit repair, or the top inquiries about repairing their credit. And then it was people getting sued. But now it is a huge increase of people who they just have too much debt, and they're like early in the game. They're like trying to figure out what they can do because, like, they're at the level that the people who are getting sued or the people who have bad credit, they're like right before going over that hillside. Like, they're about to be in those individuals' situation, and they're trying to figure out, what can I do to stop everything that's going on. Well, the first thing that you need to be aware of, and this is why it's so important, and why I don't just say that, giving someone a book or giving someone instructions, like that's going to be the way that they're going to get out of debt. I know that a lot of people, that are watching the video, some of the times they're like, get to the stuff about the solution. Well, there's a whole bunch of solutions out there and people still don't do them. And it's because when people are going through this type of stuff, they're under huge emotional stress. They can't sleep. They're worried to death. They're fighting with their spouse, and it could resolve in them cheating because they're trying to get away or drinking, all types of stuff. So again, when someone is going through this, it makes it very difficult for them, quote unquote, to wrap their head around a solution. So the first thing that I always tell people, what you got to do is you got to make a decision that, number one, you're going to get out of that situation. Now, I didn't say you got to know your solution. What I'm saying is that you got to make a decision to get out of that situation, to make those changes, because this stuff does happen from personal responsibility. And I'm one that admits to that. When I got in my situation, it's because of what I did to myself, not what someone else did. Now, there are things that can make it worse with what people do, but the decision starts with us. So the first thing, you got to wrap your head around it, is that you need to, don't run from this stuff. This is just stuff that's going to happen, but what I want you to do is I want you to start changing your mindset. The way to change your mindset is you're going to decide that this stuff is going to get solved. You're going to start thinking positive, that you're going to get stuff solved. So now you're going to start looking at solutions. Solutions are going to be determined based off of where your situation is, and we're going to get to that. But first, let's just talk about the solutions. Obviously, solution number one is to pay off debt. If you have the money, you just need the budget, get your stuff in order. You could do that yourself. Then that's what you need to do. You need to focus, put a plan together, and say, we're going to stop spending money here, or you're going to stop spending money on all these extra things, and you're going to apply that money to paying off your debt. Like, you just got to have to buckle down and just do it. That's what I had to do. That's what other people have to do when they're getting out of debt. There is no secret technique or nothing to it. It's just, you got to put your debts on paper and you got to figure out which way you want to pay it. You don't even have to do any of this Dave Ramsey snowball or whatever. All you got to do is just pick a debt and pay it off or pay it down, whichever one. Most people can't even sit down and decide to even pay off a debt. They'll just scramble around and just pretend. Don't even put them all in order and all that. Just write it all down and pick one and start to pay it down. And then you'll start to see that you'll have some success and you'll be able to pay off other debts. The other option, if your credit is okay, and this goes again with matching where you're at with what you're able to do, is that you could maybe get a debt consolidation loan. Now, that's going to be a loan, keyword loan. That means that if you haven't messed up your credit, or you maybe your credit isn't too bad, that a company might trust you enough to say, hey, we see that you have all of this debt, and now we want to make you one big, huge loan, and you have one payment, and we're going to just trust you not to use those credit cards and all that stuff and get into trouble and to pay us. The benefit on it is that you're going to have one payment. You could probably get a lot lower interest rate with paying on those. So if you dump all of your credit card debt and everything into that, you'll be able to get that debt consolidation loan. And I think I spelled that wrong, but it's okay. You'll be able to get the debt consolidation loan, and as long as you don't get back in trouble, you should be able to move forward. Now, this is something that you need to be aware of, though. When you get a debt consolidation loan and you own a house, say that you own a home and you get a debt consolidation loan, a lot of people don't know this, and I don't know if they disclose it, but I've ran into customers who have had this situation happen. As a matter of fact, I got a call from a business client who ended up having liens placed on his home when he got a debt consolidation loan on some of his credit cards. They can actually do that. So you need to check the terms to make sure that you understand what you're getting into with a debt consolidation loan. I bet a lot of you didn't know that. So that means that your home is going to be collateralized. When you pay off debt using a debt consolidation loan, it is usually going to be backed up by your property if you own a home, because you're collateralizing that. Or if you don't and you just was able to use your credit, then that's a great situation for you. But you're going to have that payment, pay off the other debts with that one payment, with that one loan, and then don't get back into trouble. That could be a path for you. The next path is credit counseling. We had a call from a young lady yesterday that she was in a credit counseling program. These are nonprofit organizations that are out there, and basically what they're going to do is they're going to just sit you down, put together a budget. They really don't do a lot of work. They don't make calls and stuff like that for you. You're going to have to make those calls to your creditors. But what they try to do is to put you into a plan to where you can pay your payments. Some of the times they're able to do it to where you pay one big payment to them and then they pay out to all of your creditors. You need to make sure, though, and what I had told her too, with these companies, there's been some times where they didn't get the payments out to the creditors. She said that it was being paid to the creditors, so that's great. But they're going to take all your payments. It's like a debt consolidation, but it's not a loan. They're just putting everything together. They helped you contact all of your creditors, and they're just trying to put you on a budget plan, and they're like, hey, you pay here, pay there. But this is the problem that a lot of people run into, is that they're already having trouble paying their payments, and they're just not able to continue making those payments. But they charge a small fee, which there's nothing wrong with that if someone helps you with your situation. But these last two, what I'm going to be getting into, they're very difficult because you're actually still having to pay a payment. They may cut it down a little bit, but if you haven't figured out your budgeting situation, it's going to make it very difficult for you. The next one here is debt settlement. And this is the one that people really, really get confused about, because they think that when they go into a debt settlement program, that that their payments are actually going to their debts, and they're not going to their debts. And this is the way that this works with debt settlement. Is, let's say that you got some credit card debt, and you have been making the minimum payments on those. You hear the commercial and it says there's this special program that's out there from the federal government that allows you to pay sometimes 25% to 50% of your current credit card debt. You're like, oh man, this is the best plan. The government is looking out for us right now. I'm gonna call this number and get with this program because it's out there. Well, let me tell you, I'm gonna bust the bubble. There is no government program. All they're doing is that this is the process. If you've been making your minimum payments, which is what they say in the commercial, and then you think that you're going to just sign up with this company and they're going to cut your credit card debt in half, that's not going to happen. Let me just draw out the process. What they're going to do, and I'll draw it here, and then we'll go back. So what they're going to do is let's just say you got 3 credit cards. You've been making the minimum payments, and let's just say you're paying $100 minimum payments. So what the company is going to do is they're going to say, stop paying your credit card. So what is that instantly going to do? If you don't have bad credit, it's going to make you have bad credit, because you're going to have to let those accounts charge off. They cannot, I don't care who it is. If it's a regular business like a medical debt or something like that, yes. But if it's a regular credit card or some type of a loan or something that you have, it's going to have to charge off first. So that means that it's going to charge off. That's going to take up to 180 days. While that process of the 180 days is going through, they're going to say, okay, you used to pay $300, and this is just an example, you're going to only have to pay $150. So you're saying, well, that's a great deal. I'm going to save $150 per month. They're cutting my monthly payment in half, and then they're going to settle these debts. So what they're going to do with that $150 is that they're going to allow those to charge off, and then they're going to approach, once they charge off, they're going to see if the company sold it or if they can negotiate directly with the credit card company. Some of the times they can. And it has to be charged off because that's the route that the credit card companies legally have to take. They can't just start settling debts that are on open accounts, and that would make their books look tore up. That and it would be a lie to their investors. So you're like, hey, I get to save that $150. They're putting that $150 and they're going to help settle my debt. This is the thing that you need to be aware of. Number one, they're going to settle the debt. Now, they do settle the debt. They could settle it on average 50 cents on the dollar, but they have to get a fee out of that. And this is what really gets people, is that they're going to charge anywhere between 15 to 20%. So if the credit card company says, hey, we will settle your, let's just say it's $2,000. We'll settle it for $1,000. But if you don't have $1,000 plus their fee, they're not going to settle that. They're going to either come to you for the extra money, or they're going to say you got to wait and then do it the next month, which is not bad. What I'm doing is I'm just telling you the whole situation, because there's been people who saw that they had enough money in their escrow, and they're like, why didn't you just settle that debt? And they're like, you don't have enough money, and it was because they didn't have the fee money, but they didn't disclose that to them when they were talking to them. The other thing that you need to be aware of with this is that, yes, you can get sued, and no, the debt settlement company will not represent you in court. So even though you're paying them the $150, one of these credit cards or all three of these credit cards, they could either sue you or they could sell it to a debt collector, and that debt collector could sue you. And you might be saying, well, I thought that they were paying the card, settling the debt. They're paying on debt. No, it's going into an escrow. So that's why I want to make it clear to you. This is what happens with debt settlement right here. So now, what I need you to do is I need you to match your situation to the solution. This is something that people don't do when we're talking to people on the phone, is that we try to get their mind to wrap around what their situation is and wrap around their solution. Because what's going on with them is that they're emotional. They're wondering, why is this happening to them? They saw other videos on YouTube, and these things should not be able to happen. They don't have all of that stuff just boils up. And what we try to do is like, hey, you got to pull yourself down, and we need to look at what your situation is to match it up with a solution. So I'm going to use the example with the young lady that we spoke with yesterday that was in a credit counseling program. She had good credit. She doesn't want to mess up her credit, but understanding her situation, she said, I just can't pay anymore. I just can't pay. It's not getting anywhere. This is what she said. She just said, I can't pay anymore. Income is not right, all of this stuff. So understanding, and she was like, well, she said, I can't pay anymore. The credit counseling company, I don't feel like they're doing anything, that I had to make the calls every time they had me needed something done. I had to make the calls. That is what they do. They don't do that work for you. So that's where you need to understand what the company is and is not going to do for you. So can't pay anymore, has good credit, doesn't want to mess up the credit, wondering what is going to be the next step that's going to happen, and it's for a credit card debt that's in the 30s, like over $30,000. And so now, understanding what is going to happen, because everybody want to say, well, what is the worst that's going to happen? If you stop paying people, this goes away. Good is going to go off of being part of your credit. So you need to accept, wrap your head around what you are about to do. Good credit, you're going to X out good credit. That's gone. The reason why you're Xing out good credit is because you can't pay. That's understanding your situation that you're in right now. Like, be honest with yourself. So now, what are the things that could happen? When you stop paying, because she was like, well, can I offer to settle with them if I can't? You can't do that until they charge off. Remember what I said. So you're thinking, because you've heard commercials and other stuff all over the place about settling debt, and you're like, okay, well, I'll approach the credit card company that I owe $30K to and say, well, maybe I'll offer you a settlement. They're not going to take a settlement at that point until it charges off. All they're going to do is they're going to say, well, we can make an arrangement. You could pay, you could defer, you could do all of these different things. That's what they're going to say. That's what they're going to say. Remember what I told you earlier? Get with someone who's went through this stuff. Not only someone who just knows about it. What about somebody who went through it? I went through this myself. They're not going to do a settlement at the beginning. They're going to offer you some sort of payment arrangements. Next, once it charges off, and remember, charge off, first you're going to have no payments for 6 months on your credit. And then you're going to have a charge off added to your credit with this amount on your credit. This is just me letting you know what's going to happen. The next step is that they're going to either sell it or they're going to hold on to it. And that depends on which companies. American Express, Discover, Capital One, they're known for keeping their accounts, and they will settle. But let me tell you, because this is what happens, especially with American Express and Discover. They will wait up to 1 year. They will put you through a lot of this right here. I don't want to say here, they can't make you fight and be cheating. But they will, well, I guess they could with this part. But they will have you on an emotional roller coaster where you can't sleep. You're going to be worried about that debt. What are they going to be doing to you? Are they going to sue you? What's going to be happening? They will make you wait upwards of 1 year before they will move towards doing a settlement. This is not from me guessing. This is from me working with clients that had issues with Discover and American Express. Discover will even wait even a little bit longer because they're thinking, let me tell you, this is their thinking. If they sell it for pennies, why sell it for pennies on the dollar when we can hire a firm, pay them an overall retainer to just call people, and whatever amount we end up getting is going to be more than pennies on the dollar. That's their thinking. That's their thinking. So, but you just understanding, this is where you're putting your credit. Because sometimes people call us and they say, I want to go through this, but I don't want to mess up my credit. Tell me how you're going to not pay somebody, have 6 months of no payments on your credit report, have a charge off, and for example, with this one, with $30,000, how can you go through all of that and not have bad credit in the end? Tell me, because then you're going to be telling me something that I don't even know. So this is what's going to happen to you. And then the next step is that they can sue you. They can sue you, and that could be directly from the creditor or indirectly from a debt collector. And then you will be going into the other side, the other section of how you're going to respond to that court summons. But we're not going to get into that in this video. So now, match your situation to the solution, but also wrap your mind around the consequences of the route that you take. So there's no, I want to stop paying somebody and I want to save my credit by stop paying somebody. You can save your credit by paying off that debt. You can save your credit by doing the consolidation. But if you can't qualify for those and you end up taking one of these options, you could end up having bad credit with this option solely if you're not able to pay your creditors the amount that was promised to them. That's going to be dependent on the terms of the creditor. Maybe they won't do that. Maybe they will. Maybe they'll just make an adjustment on your payment agreement, and as long as you follow through with it, they won't put any negative marks on your credit. But you need to find out about that. And then definitely with debt settlement, you cannot go into debt settlement, stop paying your payments, and expect that you're going to be in there with good credit. That's not going to happen. And as a matter of fact, when you're in debt settlement, you need to finish the debt settlement program before you start to work on your credit. Why? Because they're going to be sending information to them about settling your debt, and then you're actively going back and forth with them to get the information removed off your credit reports. That's not going to work. Now, once it's sold, you can get the original creditor's information off, and then you're going to be dealing with the debt collectors. And yes, the debt collectors will be able to put that information on your credit reports, unless you do a full dispute, which I'll be talking about that at the end of this video. So we got everything here. We're talking about the solution. We want to get out of this debt, especially with what's going on in our economy right now. We want to start working on this. So if you need help with your credit, please visit us at thecreditrepairshop.com. Watch the video, What Makes Us Different, so you can see my 8-point validation process and my 2-phase settlement process. If you need your credit reports and scores, go to the website your3scores.com. Grab those. If you get them, we'll do a free review for you, just letting you know what you can do if you want to do it yourself, or if you want to work with our company. That's up to you. Next thing is, if you have debt collectors coming after you early in the game, before it gets to all of this other stuff, or even if it is where it's charged off and you're in a debt settlement program, but you have the debt collectors coming after you, this could be a strategy that you could use to stop the debt collectors. But you got to be careful if you're already in a debt settlement program. Grab my 3-pack of letters. Number 1, you should never pay a debt that's past legal statute of limitations. If you don't know the legal statute of limitations for debt in your state, you need to go to my website, thecreditrepairshop.com. At the bottom, click on blog, type in statute, and you will see the statute of limitations for all 50 states. If your debt is past the legal statute of limitations, you don't need to do a debt validation. You don't need to do a debt settlement. You don't need to do any of that. You just need to send them the letter that I'm going to give you, and it will make them stop coming after you for the debt. You have no legal obligation to pay it. Next, I give you a cease and desist collection activities letter, not to be confused with cease and desist communications letter. This is a letter that I developed that will ask questions of a debt collector that will make them determine if they're going to come after you for the debt or not. The reason why is because there's questions in there that are not stuff like, it's not mine, not my contract, that type of stuff. It goes further than that. It goes into more details about what is required for them to be able to legally come after you for that debt. The next thing is a debt validation letter. I give you that so you can have that back and forth, because some of the debt collectors might choose to continue coming after you, especially if it's a high amount. They're going to be like, hey, we're not going to just stop right there. We're going to make them put a lot of pressure on them. Thank you for your time. Please subscribe to the channel. Please post your questions and comments. This is Stephen A. Williams, President.